I pretty much use a camera slider in every video I make, but I just got this motorized slider to try out, and it's from Neewer, a company you've probably heard of if you've ever shopped for camera accessories. From my first tests of the Neewer slider, I really like how smooth it is, and it's really quiet, but there's a really soft whining sound when the motor is in use, but you almost can't hear it. Without the motor, this is just like many of the other carbon fiber sliders you can buy. It's got retractable legs with spring-loaded screws, and you can adjust the feet for easy leveling on uneven surfaces. The dolly on top is large and has a 3/8 inch screw, however I would have rather seen a 1/4 inch screw there instead. There's also a lock for the main dolly so it stays in place when transporting around, and there's a second lock for the camera mount, which is part of a cool feature that allows the slider to pan and rotate the camera along the track. And to enable that feature, you adjust the angle of the center bar, which then allows center tracking or panoramic shots. And here you can see the rotation of the camera platform as it moves along the rails. But before the motor can be used, the slider has to be assembled, and I'm going to help you out here because the included instructions really don't tell you how to mount the motor and belt. So as mentioned before, this is just a carbon fiber slider without the motor. So here are the instructions to get the Neewer slider ready for use. There are 2 large screws that mount the motor to the side of the dolly. Use the large Allen wrench to tighten these screws in. There's not a lot of clearance here, so it takes a bit longer than you would expect to get both screws in. The motor is in the way and it's not really easy to get full rotation with the wrench. But once the motor is secure, the next step is to install the belt. These are all the parts needed, and I'll start with a longer metal piece that has 3 holes in it. The belt will go under the slider on the side with the motor on it. The first screw will go in the hole closest to the inside. Set the metal plate on the end of the slider, and this is where the first screw goes. When it's in, the screw will be countersunk into the hole. The second screw goes into the middle opening, and unlike the first one, this screw will be surface mounted. Now take the pleated plate with 2 holes in it and place it face down over the surface mounted screw like this. Then loosely insert the third screw. Now slide the belt in between the 2 plates with the teeth facing straight up towards you. Then tighten that last screw. The belt is now secured to this side. Now just repeat the same process on the other side with the mounting brackets. And remember to leave that top piece loose for the belt. When all the pieces are in, now the belt needs to be threaded through the gear on the motor. So with the teeth on the belt facing you, wrap the teeth around the main gear and loop it in the middle around the 2 smaller pulleys. Gently pull the belt towards the other side of the slider. Insert the belt in between the mounting plates, pull it tight, and then tighten the final screw to hold the belt in place. And here's a closer look at how the belt is weaved through the motor. The last thing to do is download the app and set the A and B points. After that, the slider is ready. I've got my battery all charged up and I'm all set to make some test shots. I use one of those Z mounting plates on this for my camera, but you can use a ball head instead if that's what you've got. When the motor starts, it has a nice ramp up to the set speed, so there's no jolting at the beginning and the end. I'm really glad to see how smooth the motor is on the carbon fiber rails, and if I want to engage the rotating camera base, I'll make an adjustment to the center bar. And now with the camera on the slider, you can see it slowly rotating as it moves along the rails as I have it on center tracking. And here's what the shot looks like. This mode keeps the main objects on the same spot on the screen and creates a cool motion effect with the background. This is something I can't easily do with my manual slider. Speed can also easily be adjusted in the app. And here I've got the slider perpendicular with the object for a dolly forward type of move. I have to admit that the motion is really smooth. I'm going to have to start using this Neewer slider on more videos. And since I shoot all my videos on my own, I can also get shots of myself with a dolly move where I couldn't do before with my manual slider. One more feature the Neewer slider has is that it also includes all the cables you'd need for time-lapse shots on a DSLR. Just connect the camera to the motor and the app will control the shutter intervals. I'm really impressed with the functionality of this slider, and the only other things I think need mention is that the Neewer slider won't fit into the included carrying bag while the motor is mounted. That means that the belt also has to be removed in order to use the bag. And speaking of the belt, it's probably the weakest part of the slider, and over time it's probably going to eventually break. But I've seen replacement belts on Amazon that could work. Just search for camera slider belt. Other than that, I think this is a great piece of gear to add to my collection. If this video was helpful, please give me a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on all my weekly videos.